Halls of Atonement 1 is nuts. They reduce the amount of obliterators and collectors near each shard of Halkias. They reduce the entire enemy forces requirement by 10%. That is so much in a key. The Stoneborn Slasher enemy force is then basically 50% more. So you're probably going to be pulling slashers into pulls more, and into each one of the individual Houndmaster pulls, we might be pulling in slashers now. I will probably be making a new route updated with the enemy forces reduction and the slashers, because this is just huge. Then you're going to have a much easier time with the Halkiases, because in the prior seasons we used to use the Stoneborn Slashers with Venthyr to take the Shard of Halkias, or to take the Stoneborn Slasher to kill the Shard of Halkias. So it was actually pretty cool. This is a great change. I think this is what's killing groups. They just have infinite cast, and if you're trying to time the key, you have to pull so much. So I think this is one of the absolute biggest nerfs I've ever seen to a dungeon overall in the smallest amount of text. This is huge, huge nerfs. I mean, you can't... This dungeon's probably going to be free. This is probably a free dungeon now. Big changes to routes and everything will come in. This is free. I think Ara-Kara City of Echoes was fairly warranted here. The crawlers, the ones that put that stacking dot on you, that if you don't have multiple poison spells, you're just absolutely dead. Or if you don't have a pure immunity. So this is probably the biggest nerf overall, in my opinion, next to the actual health reduction of the first boss. So the crawler health will just be a little bit reduced. And so they didn't have much health to begin with, and if your team was doing it properly, if anything, a 20% health reduction is a nerf to the boss for teams that are doing it efficiently, because then you'll essentially lose out on 20% of all those health doing real funnel into the boss. But for lower level groups, I think that this is a great change. Overall, I don't think it's probably net neutral, or if anything, it will make higher end bosses slower. I do believe that. I believe that those health, like, you could probably get an entire extra glaive full setup Eldrachi Reaver buff into those crawler health and get all of that 5 stack of those mobs damage funneled right into that boss. So, I mean, depending on which way you want to look at it, it's a nerf and a buff to some players, but overall has to be a huge buff to the vast majority of players. So, good change. No issues with it at all, and if you missed the world first key by 1 second, it was literally could have been this. This could have been that difference there. This is 1 second worth of damage for sure for a high level team. They addressed an issue with the Eye of the Storm where the visual is larger, so good. That's not really a change, just kind of a bug fix, I'd say. And then Resonant Barrage initial cooldown increased. Ability cooldown increased by 50%, and then the periodic damage is reduced. So this guy is going to be significantly easier to kill. I think overall these dungeons have been pretty fun this season. I like the season because I knew all of the dungeons basically going in, other than Ecodome. So this is insane changes to Halls. We're going to have a great time in Halls now. This will be one of the best push keys for sure. This is crazy. I'm very happy with this change. I wish I didn't spend so much time learning all of the Halls routes that we were just doing, but hey, it is what it is. This will be more fun going forward, so I'm happy with this change. I don't think you're going to require a prop paladin in this key anymore. Then Ara-Kara City of Echoes, one bug fix, and then I'd say the biggest one really is going to be the Venomous Spit cooldown. I think your teams are going to die significantly less on the trash in these dungeons now, because you might be able to get away with one poison cleansing person instead of having to have 3. So we'll see how it goes. This might just be we're able to pull massive in the first areas now with extra crawlers than we normally would. So we'll see what happens with this. We already do pretty massive pulls in there, so I think this is just the best change that you could have made in Ara anyway, to make it better for groups to be able to come in with not perfect dispels and be able to actually do this key. So I think Blizzard is tackling it at the right spots. So that is the quick breakdown of the dungeon tuning. Very good.